Welcome to the selfgrowth.com show. My name is David Riklan, and I'm the founder of selfgrowth.com. Today, we'll be discussing how to have an amazing relationship with money. To help us understand this topic, I'm excited to interview Penelope Jane Smith. Make sure to listen closely. We're going to be sharing a lot of information today. Before we get started, I want to take a couple of minutes and share some information about Penelope. Penelope Jane Smith is the premier financial freedom coach for women entrepreneurs and the go-to experts for some of the biggest names in the conscious business industry. She's an acclaimed international speaker and certified trainer with 20 years of teaching experience and the author of The Little Book of Prosperity. Through her signature programs and live events, she's helped thousands of entrepreneurs from all over the world to create more ease, peace, and freedom around money. And I'd like to, before I welcome her, I want to give out a website for you to check out, and she'll tell you what you'll be able to get on a little bit. And just jot this down for later. It's moneydatechecklist.com. It's all one word, moneydatechecklist.com. Write that down. We'll come back to that in a little bit. Penelope, welcome to our show.
Hey, David. Oh my gosh. I am so happy to be here. I think you've created some really amazing stuff with selfgrowth.com and an amazing community. And I'm just delighted to get to be part of it today.
Great. We're delighted to have you part of it. So I want to jump right in over here. I've heard that you have a pretty crazy personal money story, but I don't know what it is. Would you be willing to share that with us today?
Yes. Yeah. So I started out with $10,000 of my own money. And over the next 4 years, I turned it into over $6 million in real estate. And I was on track to retire by the time I was 31. And then when the real estate market crashed, I lost everything, including my beautiful home with the water view. And I was eventually forced to declare bankruptcy. So as you can imagine, I felt depressed, anxious. I felt like a total failure. And then I was invited to participate in a high-level mastermind group on a billionaire's private island. It was $50,000 to attend, and I had, a few $100s to my name, no credit at this point because I had wrecked it. Right. But I did have this strong intuitive hit that I was supposed to be there.
Right.
And what was so amazing, David, was that I actually made it work. I actually did it. And that was the beginning of turning everything around, because the facilitator of the group announced publicly that he wanted to win a Nobel Prize for single-handedly turning the economy around. And that really inspired me. So I started asking myself, what could I do to single-handedly turn the economy around? And I was sitting with this question up on the crow's nest on the top of the island, and I got an answer. Do we have time to share what I came up with?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Awesome. So what I noticed was that each person has their own personal economy. I was in the middle of losing everything, while other people on the island were having their best year in business ever, right? So I figured if I could support enough individual entrepreneurs in shifting their own personal economy to abundance, then eventually we'd hit a tipping point and the economy at large would shift. So I decided to focus my energy on supporting entrepreneurs to make more money, because that's something I'm really great at. And I started making microloans to women entrepreneurs in third world countries so that I'd have a positive global impact right away. And so now life is pretty awesome. I was able to take my business up to double, almost triple where it was before the crash, cash flow my dream wedding, have wonderful vacations, extra long maternity leave. And now I'm able to make a healthy 6 figures while working 20 to 25 hours a week. So I have plenty of time with my first baby, who's a toddler now, Gabriel. So I'm really passionate about supporting other entrepreneurs to avoid some of the painful mistakes that I've made. And if you're listening to this and you've already faced challenges, then support you in rising like a phoenix from the ashes. Yep. And it's okay, now what are we going to do? So hopefully that gives you an idea of where I'm coming from.
All right. Well, that's a very powerful story, and it must have been a tough time that you'd gone through.
Yeah.
For sure. I can't imagine how painful that was to kind of work your way through that situation. And I'm a big believer in this concept, this personal economy, because everybody's worried about what the broad economy is. And in truth, we just need to worry about our personal economy. What's impacting us? What are we doing?
Yep.
I get that completely. So I know you talk about having an amazing relationship with money, and that's one of the things we want to talk about today. But what does that mean exactly? Have an amazing relationship with money, and why is it so important?
Thank you. So, just like you have relationships with other people, you have a relationship with money. So, how do you nurture that relationship so that money flows into your life, stays with you, and grows with you? When you don't have a good relationship with money, what happens is that you are always pushing money away and causing your life to be difficult, whether you realize it or not. So, it's really important to focus on that relationship and heal it and have a good one so that money can flow really easily in your life.
All right, I get it. So what's the first step? You were talking about creating this amazing relationship with money. What's really the first step that you need to do?
The first step is to decide that money is important to you and that it's actually worth spending time with. And that doesn't mean that money is the most important thing in your life at the cost of everything else, right? It doesn't mean that money's more important than your health or relationships. I think it's really weird when people say stuff like money isn't as important as health. It's like, why do I have to choose between being wealthy, healthy, and happy? I want to have all those things. So, unless you're opting out of the money system entirely and living in an intentional community or bartering for everything, then money is important because that's the system we're operating in, and it allows you to operate conveniently in that world. So, it is important. And if you're in a relationship with someone and you tell them you're just not that important to me, how long do you think they're going to stick around, David?
I would say not very long. You're going to lose the support very quickly. So I
Right?
get that. So
Yeah.
it's the relationship in your life that's an important one.
Right. So when money's important to you, you're willing to spend quality time with it, just like with someone you're dating, right? So you're familiar with the concept of date night with your partner or spouse, right?
Sure, absolutely.
So I encourage my clients and everybody that's listening here to have a money date where you schedule a regular time to connect with your money and give it your full attention. And in the past when I didn't have a regular money date, I would handle my finances randomly, which meant sometimes I was organized, other times they were in total chaos. I wasted, I don't even know how much money, hundreds, thousands of dollars in fees that could have been avoided if I was paying more attention to it and seeing how it was doing. So now that I have regular and consistent money dates, I have clarity around my finances. I make better decisions. Money comes to me more easily, like even out of the blue. I love it. And I think, if you're listening to this and you start doing it, you are going to love it too, for
Mhm.
sure.
So step me through, is this the money date? You pick a specific day each week and time? Is a specific process? How does this money date work?
Yeah, so I do my money date every week, or it's scheduled every week because I want the flexibility to be able to skip one and still not have it be too long if I have a VIP day or an event or I'm traveling or something
Hmm.
like that. So the first thing that I do on my money date is I pull out my money date checklist.
Okay.
Boom, which is right here. It's a one-page checklist
Okay.
of what to do on my money dates, and I keep it handy as the first page in that binder with other information that I want to keep handy. So I could just as easily keep it in a folder or on a
Mhm.
clipboard, but a clipboard. But the important thing is that I know where it is and I can access it in a moment, right?
Right.
And so I start with the first item on the checklist, and then I go down the list one by one until the end of the time that I've blocked off for my money date. And um, we don't have time to like go into all the details of that, but what I've done is I've created a money date checklist that you can just download if you're listening to this at that link that David mentioned, moneydatechecklist.com. And that's a one-page checklist that you can model and then explanations for what each of those things are. So you can use it the way it is, or you can use it to kind of like adapt it and make it your own.
All right. So just to repeat the URL, so people can, when they're done listening here, they can go, they can download that for free. There's no cost.
Right.
And it's moneydatechecklist.com and they can get the information. It sounds like a really good starting point for folks because it's important for people to really get in touch with and understand their finances. And I know for a lot of people looking at their finances, it's like the last thing they want to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't want to be, but they're afraid of it. They don't want to think about it. And I think many people have shame fear, frustration really around money. So it's on the last thing on their plate that they try to avoid it. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. Because I have so many clients that like they're just terrified to look at their money, and like the idea of doing a money date just sends them into tears, right?
Sure.
But what I found is that even the most resistant people have learned to absolutely love it. And the key to that in terms of the money date specifically is to make it fun, make it
Mhm.
sweet, make it like a ritual.
Right.
So the first thing, the first item on your money date checklist, imagine if you're having date night with somebody, right? Maybe the first item is set the mood, right? So I
Okay, I
like
like it.
I like to light a candle so that
Okay,
it feels like sacred space and it's a
sure.
ritual. I
Mhm.
have one client that actually dresses in lingerie for her money dates. I have other clients that have like a cup of coffee or a glass of
Right.
wine. One recently, she starts her money date by doing a minute of dancing. And if that's all she does on her money date, she wins, right? So she's like, oh, I could dance for a minute. And
Okay.
so she's like somebody who's like severely avoided money, but by making it fun and by making it a ritual, then that kind of takes some of the sting off of it and makes it
Yeah, yeah.
special and sweet and something to look forward to, right? And then in a broader perspective, a lot of fear, frustration, and shame around money comes from the fact that we never received a financial education. Like, think
Right.
about if you went to, high school or college, like,
Mhm.
what did you learn about money in school? Probably not a lot.
Right.
Even in your professional education, if you got a license, a degree, a certification, like, what did they teach you about money? Um, even if you're an accountant, a lot of times they don't teach you the personal finance and investment strategy side. So we haven't been given a financial education, and yet just in the last little bit when IRAs became a thing, we've been told that we have to be totally responsible for our financial future and given
Mhm.
no support for how to
Right.
do that. Okay, you're responsible, good luck, right? And
Sure.
so if you realize like, hey, I'm not bad or wrong, this is just a skill that I haven't learned, right? It's like if you're a baby and you're learning to walk, like, is the baby like bad or stupid because they don't know how to walk
No.
immediately? No, right? So that can take some of the sting off. I just realized, I am just a normal person that has
Right.
not received the financial education, and now I can
Mhm.
get one, right?
Okay. Makes total sense. It's interesting. I think back to what I learned financial education in college, for example. I took maybe micro or macroeconomics, but didn't have anything to do with personal finance or anything to do with what will impact me personally in my life and my finances.
Yeah, and I'm
It's a-
I'm always just like amazed and delighted at how many, financial experts, accountants, financial planners, financial advisors come to my live event and like, this is amazing.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So, can you give us any other tips? You gave us a bunch on how to set ourselves up for success with these money dates. You gave us a bunch. Is there anything else we should be thinking of?
Yeah, I'd like to give you some really specific practical tips to set you up for success with your money
Okay.
date. So the first thing is set a rhythm. Are you going to do it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly? Some people like to do it on the 1st and the 15th.
Hmm.
So set the rhythm that's going to work for your life, and then schedule it in your calendar as a recurring date, ideally Monday through Friday, because that sends the signal to your brain that like this is important. This is business. This is not
Right.
something we're going to mess around with. And ideally before noon, because that's when you have the most willpower.
Okay.
And if of all the financial systems and money systems and investment strategy that I teach, the one that requires the most willpower is to just get in the habit of doing the money dates. And then everything else just kind of flows really, really easily. So those are some recommendations. And then again, make it sacred, make it fun, and make it count. Even if all you do during your money date is you just look at your checklist. So if you're trying to build a habit of going to the gym, then
Hmm.
just focus on putting on your sneakers.
Right.
You know, I'm going to put on my sneakers, and if I don't feel like going to the gym, I'm just going to take them right off. And, but the fact is, like, once you put on your sneakers, you might be like, oh, I'll just go.
Right. Right. There.
So,
Mhm.
just look at the money date checklist. And then you see that first thing, and you're like, I could light a candle or I could dance for a minute. And then, oh, yeah, maybe I could look at my bank account. So, but you win if all you do is look at the checklist. So I encourage you to focus on just that one micro habit
Mhm.
And then you'll gain more automaticity with that. It'll start to be part of the rhythm of your life. And then you'll find you're more successful in doing your money dates.
Okay. And I get that. I like kind of these micro goals where you start out small and you build from there because it builds momentum.
Absolutely.
And it's a really key way to develop because what happens, what I've seen, what happens is you set these very small goals. Each time you do it, it's like a win.
Mm-hmm.
And it enables you to build and make more progress and make more progress. So it's kind of like little step, pat on the back. All right, you get to it. I made the date. I set it. I got to the schedule, and it enables you to kind of step yourself up and step up your game. So I like that concept. So if you were going to recommend 2 to 3 action steps for people listening today, so we've covered a bunch already, 2 to 3 action steps, what would they be? What would be the steps to take?
Well, the first thing is I would schedule your money date, decide when you're going to do it, get it on the calendar. That would be step one. And then the second is to create your money date checklist. So you can use the one I've provided at moneydatechecklist.com. Just download that, print out that first page, and boom, you're good to go. You have it. Or you can adapt it and make it fit your life. So like maybe on the checklist, it says, look at your business account, and you're like, no, I'll just look at the reports that my bookkeeper sends to me.
Right.
That's fine. So you can update it for yourself. And then if you want to go deeper and you like the idea of like really increasing your financial education, then, I would encourage you to check out one of my live events. If you just go to my website, realprosperityinc.com, you can see all about it. But I want to give you a special URL for how you can actually get a full scholarship. And that is Financial Freedom 101 Scholarship.com. So if you'd like to actually come join me in person to really do a deep dive on your financial education, then that's something to consider.
All right. Can you give that out one more time? It's Financial
Freedom 101. Those are numbers, 101 scholarship.com.
Okay.
That's the link for how to bypass the $2,000 tuition and get in on scholarship.
Okay. Financial Freedom 101 Scholarship.com. Okay. Got it. Sounds good. So I know we've covered a bunch of stuff already today. Is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't ask? Any final wisdom that you have?
Yeah. So the main thing that I'm hoping that you get out of this interview, if you're listening to this, is to like really set you up for success in this one specific area of money dates. However, there's a whole spectrum of financial experience, all from financial crisis all the way to wealth building and estate planning and talking about your legacy. And there are 3 keys to moving through that spectrum or those milestones more quickly so that you have more ease, peace, and freedom all along the way. So the first key we mentioned is financial education. That is the outer game of money, how to make, save, manage, invest, and protect your money. And that's just a matter of educating yourself, right? And that's something that you can continue to work on throughout your life. The second key is to expand your prosperity consciousness. That's the inner game of money, the emotional, psychological, spiritual side of money. And then the third key is money systems that work with your natural human behavior instead of trying to overcome it. So the money date checklist, that is a money system that can help you be more successful by, instead of trying to remember everything or handle everything on the fly, boom, you have your money date, you have your checklist there, right? And so that's what I work with people on, is those 3 things. If you end up coming to the event, that's what you'll work on, is those 3 things. So I ran into this like meme online. It just stopped me in my tracks, and I have loved it ever since. And it said, do something today that your future self will thank you for. And I was like, oh yes, that's it. So I really hope that as a result of this conversation here with David and I, that you take this and you do something today that your future self will thank you for.
All right. Sounds good. I like that message. So I just want to remind people one more time, moneydatechecklist.com. If nothing else, take 2 minutes. You're done here. Go download that. It's something you can take a look at, plan your first money date, get started with that. And then you can contact Penelope. She gave you the other details. And at this point, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you, Penelope, for joining us today.
Thank you. Geeking out about money is my favorite thing in the world. So I'm glad we got to do this.
Good. So we had a chance to talk about your favorite thing in the world. I like that. And I'd like to thank everybody for listening. And I want to wish everybody great success in all areas of your life. We'll talk to everybody soon. All right. Take care.